Woo!
Woo.
And then I know one of our members always asks to do the transcript. I don't know how to actually do it without being asked. So if y'all find it, go for it. I will set it. I'll hit yes to it. I'm not sure how to do it on my side. So without further ado, though, let's see. Carlos, if you could recommend some places to apply, that'd be great. Yeah, definitely. There's some places out there. Part of what we do during our call is we ask who's hiring, who's looking for work a little bit later on. But also, if you're in our Slack channel, we drop things in there as well. Um, I definitely recommend LinkedIn though. Building your LinkedIn profile out is really, really helpful. That's where I get most of my work. I'm a freelance developer, and most of my work comes from LinkedIn. I have other things set up, but that's the only thing that's ever really done well for me, at least. Other people, I'm sure, have had other experiences. That's been my experience over the last few years. So, without further ado, folks, we're going to go ahead and start though. So today's event is on Webpack. It's from 7 to 9. It's on Zoom. We are Hispanic hackers. Yeah, I can definitely go over that, Leroy, for sure. I'd like to thank our sponsors, the Capital Factory. If you've never been, if you're local to Austin, check it out. Go to their website. They have so many events. They have like 150 different meetup groups that meet out of there. Plus, they have I don't even know, so many startups. Like I don't want to say 1,000, but there's more than 100 startups that work out of there as well. They're a great place to learn, to get to meet people. They have a lot of networking events. It's fun to just go and hang out if you can. They have a co-working space. They have a lot of neat little gadgets and stuff like that. And it's kind of nice to just like meet people and see what people are up to. So definitely worth checking out. They're great people. If you ever need to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us through them. But they sponsor us for in-person meetings. They also sponsor us over Zoom.
Oh,
Which
share your screen, James.
I'm sorry.
Share your screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Oh no. There we
There you
go.
go. Got
Oops.
it.
There we go. Thank you.
Yep.
So today's event is going to be starting at 7. We usually start about 7:05, waiting for people to come in. And our presentation, I'm going to be putting it on starting about 7:15-ish or so. And then depending on how it goes, we'll have Q&A about 8:45, and then we have a 9 o'clock. We end our event for the day. For anybody that's new to Hispanic Hackers, we're a group of developers, mostly software, some hardware engineers, mostly of the Hispanic ethnicity. If you're not, that's totally cool. Really, our goal is just to showcase our knowledge and experience and build professional networks for us and for everybody that wants to be a part of it. Our organizers include Eddie Reyes. He's away today. Myself, James Lockwood, Laura, and Laura Oya are both out today. And we have Timothy Quang, who is here as well. He's one of our moderators. While I'm thinking about that, let's make sure I can get you a co-host just in case. Bam. All right. Yes. So some of our goals are to advance the knowledge in the technology space. We have monthly tech events where we go over different things that are popular. Here lately, we've been doing a lot of like whiteboarding, interview practice, company connection type events. Today's event was actually supposed to be an event where we had some recruiters come in and we were going to just get people in front of them. But anybody that's dealt with the recruiter in the past knows that they kind of sometimes are a little bit flaky and hard to deal with. So I'm so sorry about that. But they all kind of fell through. They never responded back. So I'm sorry. We came up with this event today, and it should be pretty good. There's a lot of good information. But really, our goal is to create a community in tech to help somebody out, to be that friend to somebody in the corner that doesn't know anybody, make great professional connections, and socialize and just have fun. That's really the old goal of our group is just to meet people, be friendly, have fun, have a good time. Anybody interested in getting involved, want to do a talk, want to join our leadership team? All these things are definitely available. We always are looking for people to join, help out. No skill is too small, no skill is too large. If you're good at social media, if you're good at development, if you're good at presentations, it really doesn't matter. Like whatever you're interested in, we can have a space for you to help out. It always helps. Before we start, let's go ahead and take a quick photo. So if there anybody can turn off the camera or turn on the camera, we can do that real quick. If you don't feel comfortable, that's also okay.
Yeah. So we just usually take a photo for social media.
Yeah.
And if you would help me, James, just take another screenshot in case.
Yeah.
Okay, Leroy, that's fine. All right. So I'll count down to 3 and everybody just give a smile and we'll take it. Yeah, that's cool, Carlos. All right. We're gonna do it in 3, 2, 1. All right, do one more. 3, 2, 1. Nice. I like your I don't know what that's called, the confetti, Leroy. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Sweet. All right. Back to it. All right. So some things we do try to do is we do try to do social events. Here lately, we've been kind of busy, so it's been a little bit hard. But if you're ever out and about, I know I try to put things in whenever like we go to the park or anything like that. You just want to hang out. We have a social events calendar, or we have a social events Slack channel. Feel free to drop an event in there. Hey, I'm going to be at this river today. By the way, 4th of July is coming up, folks. If anybody doesn't have plans, I know we're planning on hanging out and watching the fireworks downtown. Feel free to hit us up if you're down there. The more the merrier. It'll be fun. We should have a good time. But yeah, if there's ever anything that you're doing and you want to share it with the group and want us to be a part of it, feel free to drop it in our Slack, and we totally can make it to those events too. For our next event, we're planning a JavaScript how-to class. Going to be similar to this, either JavaScript or WordPress. I know those are our next 2 months worth of events are that. If anybody's interested in either or, let me know. But we'll be planning something like that for the next couple months. All right, how to find us. You can get a hold of us at our website at hispanichackers.com, on social media, our Slack channel, or even through the Capital Factory. We're available there. All right. I know most of us have dropped in our Slack or our LinkedIn accounts or links. If you haven't done so, go ahead and drop them in to the group chat. We connect. Right now is the time when we see if anybody's hiring, anybody's looking for work. I know right now, at UT, we're definitely hiring. There's a lot of open positions for front end, for back end, for full stack. I know that they use Python. I think they use Rust. I know we use WordPress and Drupal. I'm sure we use other stuff there too. So I can drop in that link later to share. I'll put it in our Slack channel. Is anybody else working for anybody that's hiring at the moment? This would be a great time for that. Okay. Is anybody else looking for work right now? What are you looking for if you are? Oh, Jeff says US banking is hiring. So many positions are fully remote. Okay, cool. If anybody's looking for anything at US Bank, reach out to Jeff while he's here. I believe Jeff's on our Slack as well. I think you can get him on Slack too. Yeah. I don't know if you're talking, Sam. I know your box is lit up yellow on my screen. I don't know if you are or not, but it says that you're muted if you are. All right. Okay. We can go ahead and move on, folks. So now to our feature presentation. All right. So Webpack, what is it good for? Bundling your styles. It's a really neat tool. Like I was saying a little bit earlier before, it does a lot of really cool things. It's really helpful in working through your development phase of building your whatever it is that you're making. At its core, Webpack is a static module builder for modern JavaScript applications. When Webpack processes your applications, it internally builds a dependency graph for one or more entry points, and then combines every module on your project that it needs into one or more bundles, which are then static assets that you use to serve your content from. So that's what you would take and put it into your DNS hosting or your hosting provider. Out of the box, Webpack won't require to use a configuration file. However, it's going to assume that the entry point of your project is source slash index.js, and your output will result in disk slash main, which is a minified and optimized for production. So whenever you go to inspect a page and you look at, I think it's network settings, one of those tabs in the inspect tools, and you see that website or that the file that has just one really long string of everything. That's what Webpack does, kind of in a nutshell. It bundles it up and minifies it for you to be able to serve it online. So this presentation is going to give you a quick. Oh, that's okay, Sam. No worries. The presentation is going to give you a quick high-level overview, some of these concepts, and this presentation will be on our website for anybody interested. I have links in my notes to the details, and there's just lots of information. At the end of the day, webpack.com, I think, is what it is. It's a very well documented website. It has a tab for versions at Webpack 4 and Webpack 5 right now. 5 is the most current one, I believe. That's kind of what I'll be going through. Also, anytime, if I say anything that's wrong, please let me know. Anybody that's used Webpack more than me, I want to make sure that we're giving the best possible content for everybody. So, what is licensed, open source, or commercial? Okay, so let me see where we said it. So licensed means that I believe that is that's how you would sell that software to somebody, I believe, or that's whether or not you've paid for the software if you own it, and that is the kind of the like how you show ownership of the product. Open source is when you go on GitHub and you go, let's say you're using like an npm package and you notice there's a bug, and it says that it's open source, meaning that people can provide edits and updates and fixes to those bugs or those issues that are being tracked on GitHub. So you can then, oh, I meant what is Webpack license? Oh, I don't know. I think it is open source, honestly, because you can contribute to the documentation.
Yeah, Webpack is open sourse software.
Yeah.
So you should be able to
contribute.
Use it freely. Yeah, MIT license. There you go.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Leroy. Yeah, it's open source because you can contribute to the package and make things better for the community. Yeah. So Webpack has a lot of different bundles. I'm gonna kind of go through the bundles. I'm calling them bundles. I don't know if that's the right terminology for it, but different modules that you can use in your config file. So first one that's kind of the most important, I feel, is the entry point. Where is it starting at? It indicates which model Webpack should be using to build out its internal dependency graph. Webpack will figure out which other modules and libraries the entry point depends on. So it's essentially what is the path to the starting file. There's lots of different keys that you can pass into it. For example, we have, let's see, we have app, which starts at source, source app.js. You have an admin app. There's other things that we can add. So something like, it's called depend on key. It's the entry point that the current entry point depends on. This must be loaded before the entry point is loaded. So it's the initial pre starting point. You can pass in flags, keys of file name, so specific files names of output files on the disk. You can import from your entry point, so endpoint modules that are loaded up on startup. So as you start up your build, you have to run a package first before you can actually use that package. You can add libraries to the entry point, specific library options to bundle your library from current entry. You can add runtime, and that has to do with a runtime chunk. So it'll set a time that tracks the time it takes for it to build and for it to run. It can also be set to false to avoid new runtime chunks in the newest versions of Webpack. You can set a public path. So if you're ever wanting to set like your false URL, instead of having to use like an IP address or local host, you can set that up. Yeah. All right. Next thing that's important is the output. Where is it going to? It's important to think about that. So there's a couple different, these are a couple different modules that show some terminology of how we can set that up. The output property tells Webpack where to emit the bundles. It creates the how-tos and where to name these files. It defaults to dist/main.js for the main output file and dist folder for any other generated files. So we'll later in our examples, we'll see what that dist folder is. That's kind of, it's the compiled folder of everything that you've built out on, like for example, in your Create React app, all of your source files, that is what it's built into. On the right side right here, we see an example that uses the output.file name and the output.path. So the file name and the path, and the properties are telling Webpack to import at the top, and its core node.js module that gets used to manipulate the file paths. So it's telling Webpack what path to resolve to. On the left side, we see it's being used in tandem with output.library and output.library target, which allows users to insert comments within the export wrapper. So you'd be able to import to use comments that will help you in some way with your development phase. Like if you need to check if the function call did work, print that comment out for me, kind of thing. And you can use those libraries to those output libraries to be able to share that information for yourself or in your team so that they can use it for testing purposes. The next thing we want to talk about is what's called loaders. So at a high level, loaders have two properties in their Webpack configurations. That's going to be simply like a test builder and a use builder. So it's testing something, and then it uses something, basically. Things to think about if you're using regex to match the files, you don't want to use quotes in it. You want to do it without the quotes in it. I'm not a huge regex fan. If I can get away without using it, I try not to. I think it's the slashes that scare me when it comes to regex files. I don't know if anybody else likes to use regex in their development and all or not. But out of the box, so Webpack understands JavaScript in the JSON file format. Loaders allow Webpack to process other types of files and convert them to valid modules. This can be consumed by your application and adds to the dependency graph. So if we look at this second picture right here, we're using the CSS file format. And this is what's doing our CSS for us. It's pulling in the CSS loader for us. So that's what helps with the minification of that file. Loaders are transformations that are applied to the source code of a module. They allow you to pre-process files as you import or load them. Thus, loaders are kind of like tasks and other build tools that provide a powerful way to handle front-end build steps. Loaders can transform files from a different language like TypeScript to JavaScript, or load inline images as data URLs. Loaders even allow you to do things like import CSS files directly from JavaScript modules. Yeah. So our next thing is what's called the plugin API. And there are a lot of plugins that you can use and utilize for yourself. I just grabbed a few of them from the top. But they do all kinds of different neat, nifty tricks and things to help with your development phase. Remember, at the end of the day, Webpack is meant to help with your development phase. It's definitely that's what it's, how it's powerful, how it's helpful, what it does to make your life easier. Is the more you can get into it, the more you can do to better your development experience. I definitely recommend people get into it and like learn about it. Like after our event today, like it's super neat. I like it. Yeah. So yeah. So plugins are key pieces of Webpack ecosystems that provide a community with a powerful way to tap into Webpack's compilation process. So adding, for example, like this banner plugin allows you to add a banner to the top of each generated chunk. So it's going to put something out for you that you're able to read. For example, common chunk plugins extracts common modules and shares them between chunks. Plugins are able to hook into key events that are fired throughout each compilation, and every step of the way, the plugin will have full access to the compiler, and when applicable, the current compilation. So it's basically another tool that you can utilize to help yourself out. Like here's an example right here where it's requiring this plugin, HTML Webpack plugin, and that is what is, so it's, you're setting that up and then you're calling it and it's helping to build that template inside your dist folder. I believe that's what that one does. It builds the template inside your dist folder for your HTML. But there's also plugins that help with optimization, like removing duplicate content, stuff like that. So it's really neat. All right. Our next section talks about modes. This is where we start to get into kind of like, well, now we've done development. Now what goes from there? So you're able to set the mode. This is something you can do through the command line, or you can set this inside your webpack.config file. And you're able to set that so that way it tells Webpack what to do. You set that environment and kind of set it and it goes on its own. You can set it to development, to production, or to none. And it enables Webpack to build optimizations to correspond to each environment. So that way it's not, so it's providing the best possible result when you do your build phase. It does default to production if you don't tell it otherwise. So yeah, other than that, I mean, that was the last piece. Our next one is let's try Webpack out. Well, first off, does anybody have any questions about the different pieces that we kind of chatted about, the different pieces of Webpack? This would be a great time to kind of chat through those things.
What made you decide to go with Webpack over something like a Gulp or a Vite, just out of curiosity?
To go Webpack over what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Well, just so one of the things I think people tend to use Webpack for is mostly like for bundling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that's what it's for. But what made you decide to choose Webpack over, say, like a Gulp.js, or if you were going to lean into the React stuff over something like Vite?
Yeah, honestly, me and a couple of the developers that I work with, we do a sometimes bi-weekly, but at least once a week we do we get together and we want to learn a new topic. So we have a page of just like random topics on it. And I know Webpack is something that Create React App did use or does use. I haven't done React in a while, so I don't quote me. But I know it's a cool compiler and it does have a lot of things. I know Gulp, I've used that in the past. But I know Webpack it was just neat at the end of the day. That's kind of why I started trying to learn it. I definitely wanted, like I was saying earlier, build an npm package that uses Webpack, I think, that will on npm install, start up a Webpack service or package, and then like start up like maybe I don't know my first hello world page or something like that. Like all in once when I hit npm install, because I think it'd be nice to be able to use it for just speeding up the production time for myself, and then I could just share that with the world. It's like this is something I learned, and I know like other industries use like other companies other companies do use Webpack in a lot of places, and just kind of being able to understand what that crazy file meant. Like I've always been so scared to look at the Webpack, the dist folder or the bundle folder, any of those things. So just kind of peering into it, it was interesting and I liked it. And I kind of just wanted to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, we'll go ahead and if there's any other questions, please feel free to ask them. But what we'll do is we'll go down, fork that GitHub repo. Da-da-da. I'm going to make a directory because I already have that one. While we're doing this, does anybody use any Git GUIs at all by chance? I know I'm a command line person most of the time. One of my clients that I'm working for like really likes to use GUIs, and that was really stressful having to learn how to use them. I thought it was hard to learn how to use it, but it wasn't hard. It's just trying to figure out like what does the command do when you click a button instead of actually physically typing it out. I feel safer typing it out because I know if I mess something up, I know exactly what I wrote into it, versus if I click a button, sometimes that scares me because I don't know what the button's going to do always.
You're talking like what's that software called? Like oh my ZSH or something, or
Oh no. Check this out. Let me show you.
I mean, like Git Kraken, I think is one that's like a GUI for Git.
yeah, I use that one. I love it.
There's a source tree, something like that. I can't remember.
So, for example, this tortoisey Git, it does like it works from the your folder, your directory folder. But I know like I'm always testing. If I'm using this, I have to have my terminal open because I've got to make sure that I'm in the right folder, and then I'm in the right branch because I don't want to be the one who breaks something in the site. So I'm always paranoid about it. Yeah. Let's see here.
Yeah, I second the Git Kraken because it shows you like the the branches and then all the commits as well. So it's really helpful to see if you just want to quickly look into a commit, you can see all the changes really fast. I don't really like the terminal as much anymore.
I'm all about the terminal. I love the
Yeah,
terminal.
man. What about that terminal, man?
Not me, man.
It feels safer in the terminal sometimes, but
If you want to impress like your coworkers, just open up terminal and just start doing things. You don't even have to do anything important. Just
yeah,
make a text file with "Hello World" in it. And they'll think you're like hacking the matrix.
exactly. Yeah, my some of my buddies are like to show off their fancy terminal displays or like configs. I mean, mine's not fancy, but it's color coordinated enough that I know what I'm doing when I'm in it. But there's some really cool things that you can do, especially like on Mac and Linux, to make it look better and it's easier to do. So yeah, absolutely. All right, so we are inside this repo right now. I'm going to do code open. As you can see, it's just all the pages are blank right now. I grabbed just a generic git ignore for Webpack, so it knows what to hide from GitHub. All right, and all right. So just click on the getting started guide. This is the Webpack documentation. If anything, by the end of today, go through here. Like if you're interested in this at all, it has the 2 different versions of Webpack. This documentation is very, very, very thorough. It's got a lot of good information. It explains a lot. You can definitely go down some rabbit holes while you're doing this. One page leads to another, leads to another. If you get lucky, it loops back to the first page, but it doesn't always do that. Yeah, I think it's neat. So without anything else, we're going to get started. If you all want to go ahead and kind of code along with me, I'm just going to kind of go through this first section. We can talk through them as we add pieces into it. It's really nice because it's color coordinated. It tells you what to remove and what to add to it. And then it breaks down each section like right underneath it. Tim, do you think I could stop sharing my screen? I mean, stop recording, or should we continue to record?
I mean, I think if somebody's watching, they probably want to follow what you're doing. But if you just want to kind of go offline, it's cool too.
Oh, I mean, I can share my screen. So first things first, we get that repo made. You do an npm init -ui. So knitting it, okay. Npm install. Let me make this better so I can see this. All right, so we're installing Webpack. And one thing to note, by the way, you don't want to necessarily install Webpack globally. You want to install it to the repo. If you install it globally, it secludes you to that one version of Webpack. And I mean, if you only have one project, that's probably okay. But in the future, when you have more, you may not want to do that. So you may want to have other versions of Webpack, depending on if you're working on something older, or when there's another version 6, you might want to have access to that. So CLI save.dev. All right. Carlos, do you know what --save-dev means? And not? Yes, I am installing it. But when you put the flag -dev, what that does is it saves it for the dev environment, and not the production environment. So it only saves it to that environment for you. All right. So next thing. So what that did was we installed node modules. Okay, project. We have, oops, we're creating these pages. These, so we have index.html right here, source / index.js. All right, so first things first, we're going to grab this file right here. Oops. Just going to drop this into the index.js file. Okay, grab this HTML file. All right, so what this is doing is we're calling a function, a component function in the index.js file, which is going to be our entry point file. It's creating an element that's a div. Inside the div, it's going to say hello Webpack. It's using a Lodash library. To be able to use it, we need to import that library. So we're doing that from our HTML file. Right here where the script's at. And then we're using it down inside the body section of the HTML file. So it should console log for us, I believe. No, it's gonna write it out there in the div for us. So we need to also adjust the package.json file. Okay. I'm gonna leave this. I just want version. Yeah, private to true. All right. All right. All right. So this is just explaining what those different files meant. We're using the index.js is using the Lodash library. We're calling it in right here. All right. So let's use Webpack to manage these. So let's use Webpack to manage these scripts next. So we're going to create the dist/index.html file next. So new folder, pst, new file. All right, this is going to be the folder that we will then serve up to the browser. Down the line, where there are some commands that will automatically do this from the command line for us, but just for the sake of like learning what these folders are, we're doing them by hand first off. So we do okay. So we also installed Lodash because what we're going to be trying to do next is to move away from having to import it manually and importing it from Webpack instead. So we're going to import from Lodash from Lodash inside of our source file, very top of our function or our JavaScript file. Oops. How many folks still use Lodash? I know I haven't used it in a long time. Is it still kind of something that people typically use a lot of?
Not me.
No?
I actually probably did a project in the last 6 or 8 months that had Lodash in it. But
Oh,
the person who was managing it even admitted, like, yeah, it was just easy. Like, they just did it out of laziness.
yeah,
Props to them. That's my preferred way to work.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've used it every once in a while over my career, not all the time. But it's a neat, it's a really good library. It does a lot of things. All right. So we're going to grab this. So right now we're in the process of just manually putting these files in. Down the line, we're going to be doing all of this just through a command and using the Webpack file itself to build these files out for us. So right now, like we're just learning what that looks like from the basic perspective of just like how it works. All right, so what we did just now was we imported Lodash in from the npm package just now inside of our index.js file. We changed a little bit of the comments. That can be tedious, but it also just gives you that information so you're aware of what's going on under the hood. Also inside of our dist folder, we are setting the script to the main.js. Okay. And I think we're ready to run our first commands. So we're going to run npx webpack. Is it going to work? Should. All right. So we ran our first Webpack command. It tells us what happened. Oh, I thought there'd be more information. Okay. So it tells us the runtime of the module, like how long it took. It shows us what we had, what got built, what code got generated. If there's any warnings in there, if there's any errors, it tells you what those errors are. So really, at the end of the day, the goal is what's going to make development for you the easiest. It talks about that it falls back to production. Right now, we're not worried about the environment just yet, but that is something that we'll be able to set that flag for development. We'll do it from the command line. We can also do that just manually in our webpack.js file. What did we end up creating? Well, we ended up creating this main.js file, which is just super scary. And then it also created this license.js file as well for us. And these will change over time as we add more content to our site. What we can also do, I think, is if I look in the file explorer, I think we can go and open it. And look, that's exactly what we put inside of our Git and our index.js file. We created an element, a div that said hello Webpack. Bam! It does work, folks. We're not crazy. The next thing we want to start doing is let's continue down this. So we can add the webpack.config file next. So that's going to go inside of the root directory. Okay. .js. All right. So this is where we're going to start doing things like our entry points, our output points. We're creating the path. We're telling the path where it's resolving to the directory, the disk directory. We're calling that main.js file. I'm gonna drop that in. This is what really got me interested in this. When I started understanding what these things did, I got super excited about this because it's really neat. You can get customizable and do a lot of cool stuff with this. So we're calling the flag config. Config webpack. JS. Oh no, what happened? That is the worst.
This is actually just like real Webpack development.
Right?
Live coding.
You thought everything was perfect, and then suddenly it blew up.
Yeah. Did I spell something wrong? Config.js. No. What did we do wrong here? Modules not found. Okay. What is not found? Entry points coming from there. There's not a main.js file yet. Oh, it is right there. Okay, yeah.
Is it webpack.config.js?
Webpack.config.js. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
But then you use webpack.js, I think. Yeah.
That's what it was. Thank you. Bam. There we go.
Woo.
Yes. All right. So what did all that do? Well, we have the created main.js file, which was the output file that we set up. Now we're actually telling Webpack what to do. Remember, initially out of the box, it will do the basics for us, but now we're actually telling Webpack that we want close to these things. So we're telling Webpack we have an entry point. We're telling Webpack that we have an output. This is the output that we want to output. We're giving it the path to where it's to resolve to, the directory name of dist, and bam, that's what we're doing it right there. It's kind of cool. Next thing we want to do, we're gonna start adding some npm packages. So this is where we start to get this can get kind of fun too. Like you're gonna start getting that build package and get that get it going. Let me see, package.json. Okay, so we're gonna add build package to it. Okay. So now we have the npm run build command. So no longer need to do npx webpack. We can just do npm run build. Oh no. There we go. There we go. Error. There we go. So what we did was we added the npm pack script that runs Webpack for us, runs the build phase. We're going to add some more into that as well in future things. So did anybody have any questions about just this first little section, this getting started part? Does anybody ever like jumped into their Webpack files and kind of tried to mess with any of these things ever?
Too often.
Too often?
At least I used to, but I'll get to that later.
All right. So we'll hop on to the next little section. It's called asset management. So what's nice about this is through the first I think about like 6, no, probably like 8 modules are all part of this getting started guide. And it just breaks down each individual section of what things are, how to use the libraries and how to use the modules. So it's really neat, like just to play with. So next thing we're gonna do, let's make some minor changes to the projects before we get started. So let's see. Yeah. Next up. Yes. Okay. All right. So what we did was we changed the title. We're adding a new script called bundle.js. And then in Webpack, we are in the config file, we are changing from the file main.js to bundle.js. All right. So we're going to npm install. Dash dash save dash dev style loader. All right. Got it. All right, so we're gonna load an importer, or we're importing a style loader. So we're adding a module now to our webpack.config folder. And do that real quick. What's neat about this thing is there's so many different things and assets that you can add to this file, this webpack.config, and each little thing does something to make your life easier. It's really neat. Okay, so we're adding a test case property and a use property to the webpack.config file. All right. So this is what's going to enable us to import a styles.css section. So let's grab that, put that in real quick.
Hey, James, are you able to zoom in to your IDE a little bit? Try a Command plus or something.
Control plus maybe.
Oh, Control, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I use a Windows computer, folks. Is that better?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if y'all, has it been that hard to read it this whole time?
Sorry for me, but I think it helps.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
I've got old man eyes, but I can tell what you're doing, so at least there's that.
Sweet.
Hey, you're giving me a CNI chart for the DMV.
Perfect. There we go. All right. So we just added the CSS file to it. We're gonna grab it just some super simple styling. We're gonna grab the class hello. We're gonna color it red. Bam. So next thing we're gonna do is grab that index.js file. We're going to import in that CSS folder into it, or file into it. Import. Okay.
Sorry
wanna-
about you, James. Can you do Control plus on the browser as well? Does that work?
Yeah. There we go.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can also share this URL. That helps. There you go. All right, so now we have that string of hello Webpack. Now we want to add that class to it. So we're going to do that next. So element dot class list dot add hello. All right, now we're ready to run, see if it's going to work or not. All right, so let's see here. We ran it. We are now calling that asset bundle.js. Okay. On larger files, like really large files, you'll be able to notice the actual runtime improvement. There's part of some further steps down talk about optimization of the actual build in things like taking that main.js file and breaking it into a bunch of small pieces to be able to asynchronously load your information up to provide a faster load time for websites and stuff. That's something we can do down the line. Well, let's see if it worked. It did. Look, turned the color red. Wonderful. We're doing it, guys, folks. We are making a website. I think this is that when I started seeing that happen, that's what really got me excited about it. Like, I mean, I know it's not super fancy, but like how that works under the hood, and I think that's what got me excited about it. Okay. Next thing, let's load an image into it now. We're going to go back to that webpack.config file. Yes, it is exciting. We're going to add another tool. So another rule. We're accepting in different file types, images. We're going to add them as an asset resource. All right. I think now I have to go find an icon. Oh, it gives us this generic icon initially, I think. It doesn't actually work. It's like a broken icon because it's just the word icon, but it works. New file. Icon.png. All right. And back inside that .js file, we're going to import that in. Okay. We're going to add that icon in now, so it'll start showing up for us. Grab that. Okay. So we're going to give it the background URL. Okay. Now let's see if it's going to work. Yes. What does that look like to us now? Look, it's showing up. Wonderful. Doing what it's supposed to do. I'm glad it is. All right. Let's load some fonts now. Now this is starting to be an actual like website. Oh no. We're gonna add another rule of a font. This configs file. So like all the different things that we need to use to build websites. Like this is, we're building it from scratch, one item at a time right now, which is kind of neat. We're going to go ahead and add this into our source file. Okay. We're going to grab that font face, put it in the CSS folder. Okay, so it's grabbing the CSS from the local directory. We're going to grab that font, put it in here. Okay. Now let's see if it's going to work for us. Oh yes, the .woff. That is a font file format. Yes. If you ever go, what, Google Fonts? Look at your file formats. Ta-ta-da. You download it and open it up. Oh well, some of them are the .ttf, some of them are .woff formats. I don't know what other formats there are, but those are typically the two formats that I see in fonts, at least. All right. So it's all working right now. We were able to load that backup, that image as a background. We added the fonts to it. It did change it a little bit. Okay, let's add some data to it now. So we're gonna do first quick npm install. Loader. Okay. So if you notice that these all have had that -dev at the end of it, so like it's reinforcing for us that it's helping us with our development phase. All right, so we're gonna add the CSV loader. So we're loading in this library of a CSV loader, an XML loader now. So we'll be able to add in different files and load them in. If I can grab it. Yes, development phase, exactly. So inside of our source folder, we're going to go ahead and add those files into it. Okay. So let's grab some content. So this is just some gibberish content that we're going to put into it, the XML file. Okay. And then some information for our CSV file, and we're going to be calling that next from our JavaScript file. Okay. So in our JavaScript file, we're going to go ahead and import them in. Oops. All right. So we've added them in. Now we're going to console log that information. Put that in the console. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't jump for me. All right. So we created the two files. We put some content inside of them. We imported the loaders that's going to load the CSV and the XML files into our webpack.config file. So we should be ready to go. We're importing them into the JS file and we're console logging them out. So that should work. I want to run. Yeah, run npm run build. Okay. Oops. All right. All right. We see that it ran. What's it telling us? All right. So it ran it. Asset bundles. Talks about the modules, its paths. There's no warnings. Okay. Oh, there's a one warning, but it's just a warning. Okay. So what does it look like now? We see that we have an object of notes. We have an array of data. That's the XML. So it's working. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Awesome.
James, what's the JSON warning about?
JSON warning. So it defaults exports to JSON modules. Without warning, we can import other parsers to change the format that it shows up as. Remember, it initially reads JavaScript and .json file formats. You can import in modules that will allow it to read and export different formats. So that's what it is. Yeah. The warning that we have right now says, it's talking about it falling back to production, which we haven't set. We haven't set yet the development environment yet. Right now, it's just defaulting to production. That's our current warning that we have at the moment. Until we set the flag that says development, it defaults to production mode. That's our current warning. Okay. So we're going to set up a customized parser for the JSON modules next. Okay. I don't really know what a toml file is. Has anybody ever used one of those before?
Want to say Docker?
Okay.
I think in Python too, you may find TOML file uses people who use TOML.
I know I've used YAML before in the past. I'm gonna do data. All right, so essentially what we're doing, we're adding some more different file formats in. We're going to go ahead and install some libraries that are going to help us to be able to read them next. So let me do that. npm install no continuous. Save patch tab. Okay. And we're adding these configurations. So we're importing them in to our webpack.js. All right. Now we're adding in the ability to read those files into our Webpack folder. As you can see, like there's no end to it. You can continue to keep putting modules into it depending on what you're doing. Just keep adding them in. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, so what we did was we added 3 additional file format types. We npm installed them. We are calling them from the webpack.config file. We're importing them in. And then we are telling the builder that we want to add the test and the use of those different file formats. We're wanting them to be able to parse it for us so it can read the different formats. And then inside of our index.js file, we're importing that data in, and then we're just console logging it. So let's see what that says when we run npm run build. Oops. We got a good build. All right. All right. We have built it out. And what we're console logging is the title and the owner name for this first thing. It's coming up, the owner name, the title, the owner name. It's working. It's doing what we need to do. All right. So, global assets. So we're not going to add a global asset into it. But this is where you can start seeing how this becomes your React app. And I think it's similar to the Angular app. I'm not an Angular person, but I think they have some sort of I think it's a component style. I'm not sure how that. I know they use ng, and everything's connected with an ng somehow. I don't know if it's the same in the folder, the directory setup at all or not. But yeah, this is seeing these kind of things like this is what got me excited about it. You know, you're creating that asset folder, you're creating components, you're creating your different sections inside your components. I think it's super neat. So wrapping it up for this little section, all the different things that we did build out, we're going to just delete them out now and kind of clean it up for the next time. The next thing, I'm going to go ahead and kind of stop sharing the screen here now, and just kind of leave and open it up some time for some Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing the live also.